What is up guys, Eric here from Real Film Reviews bringing you another movie review, this time for the new animated film, Minions. Minions is of course the spin-off to the popular Despicable Me films, playing as Gru's little helpers in those movies for his supervillain escapades. Now this film is a solo movie that's kind of an origin story of the Minions almost, which is a strange thing to think about, but it's a movie that wasn't necessarily needing to be made, but they decided to make it because of our culture's obsession with these minions and wanting to put them on everything. Now, Minions features the voices of some very talented Hollywood actors. We have Sandra Bullock, Jon Hamm, Michael Keaton, and then the wonderfully talented Pierre Coffin voices all of the Minions in the film. Now, the movie itself is something that didn't need to be made, in my opinion. Personally, I don't hate the Despicable Me movies. I think the first one's pretty funny. The second one I thought was a little weaker, but it was still okay. This movie, though, is very weak to me. The idea of having characters that don't speak a language which you can understand and not giving you subtitles is very hard to make a movie about unless you're making something super dramatic where people could still infer what's happening. With this movie, they try to make laughs out of the fact that we can't understand what they're saying, and in the first few minutes of the movie, you're like, okay, you know, they speak their own little minion language, it's funny, it's cute, whatever. But then as the movie goes on, it just continues to grow and grow until it's kind of just annoying, and you're just like, I kind of hate that I can't understand what they're saying, because I know they created a language for these minions, so they could have made subtitles, they could have done something, but for a children's movie, you don't want to do that. But it's just hard to have your lead characters of a film, your title characters of your movie, not speak a language that the audience can understand when there's a lot of this movie where it's just those characters interacting with each other and all you have to go off of is their physical actions and the way they look and the way they're animated because you don't know what they're saying. Now, that's my main gripe with the film really, is the language. I think it's kind of gimmicky and it just doesn't really work in this film. Now, the voice acting was actually pretty okay. It wasn't great, but some of the people were pretty good in their roles, and I enjoyed them. Sandra Bullock was good. Jon Hamm was probably the best part of this whole movie in the role of Scarlet Overkill, which is Sandra Bullock's character's like husband, Herb. He was probably the funniest character in this whole movie, but this movie just didn't work. There were story points where they would be doing something, and then it would seem like they were a success at what they were attempting to do, and then they would be punished, or the story just didn't work. Like, there were a lot of moments in it where it looked like something was supposed to happen, and then when that thing didn't happen, it was just kind of like, why is the story going in this direction when it has no reason to, really? Granted, it is a children's movie, and I try to take that into account when I go see kids' movies, but it's kind of hard to watch this and know that I've seen the Despicable Me movies where I think, hey, these are pretty good, the story makes sense, it's funny, and then have this where it's just like, I don't get how this story went in this direction or why this happened when there's no reason for it to happen like that. Now, this is by far my biggest gripe with this film. I will get to some positives at the end, but I kind of want to just let you guys know that this movie's just kind of offbeat. It doesn't seem to know what it's trying to do. Now, the biggest gripe that I can have with this film is the characters. You don't care about anyone in this movie because you don't know what they're saying to each other. Not one minion in this movie are you like, oh man, I really care about Bob or Stuart or Kevin, because you're just like, oh yeah, that's just another minion. There's 100 other ones just like them. There's no real reason to be compelled by these characters or to care about what they're doing at all. I guess in the beginning they kind of make this impression that they're all going to die if they don't find a leader, which is the general storyline of this movie, is they send these three out to go find a new boss for them to all have because they'll die if they don't. But they're painting these things as these non-even characters. You can't understand what they're saying. They don't have like real body language because they're just these weird little like Tic-Tac Twinkie-sized things, and it doesn't really make any sense. They expect you to be sad when certain things happen or to feel for these characters, but you can't. Like, you could be like, oh yeah, in that moment, there's a little bit of peril for that character, or I feel a little bad for that character, but you're never throughout the movie really just like, oh wow, like, I'm worried about what's going to happen with these characters. Where with a very good animated movie that came out recently, Inside Out, you do. There's genuine moments in that film where you don't know what's going to happen and you're worried about these characters and how the movie will end. You know it's a kid's movie, so you can assume it's going to have a happy ending, a happy ending, but it still compels you to feel those feelings. This movie doesn't really do that. The last thing I want to talk about is the humor. Now, the comedy in this movie was lackluster, to say best, in my opinion. There were a few moments I did laugh at, but a lot of the jokes fell flat, and in the theater I was in, there were kids in there, and there were a lot of kids that I saw just not laughing. Now, there's always going to have those classical kid jokes where every kid's going to laugh at it, but there's some jokes in this movie where they try to get a little bit better, and they kind of just completely miss their mark. Or there's some jokes where they try to make it a joke for the grown-ups, but they make it so blatantly obvious that it just falls flat because you see it coming, and it's just like, that wasn't really even all that clever to do it that way. But it just doesn't make you laugh out loud. There's a few moments where you might be like, haha, that's kind of funny, or that's kind of cute, but nothing in this movie is like a laugh out loud joke. And it just kind of is upsetting because with the other Despicable Me films, they had good writing and they had Steve Carell, which is a great lead man to have, and in this they don't really have a lead man. They have these minion characters and they can't carry a film on their own. And it's sad to say, but this movie's kind of a money grab because I feel like the studio has to know that this movie isn't going to work that well in terms of being a movie. Kids don't care about most of this stuff, but if you're a parent and you have to go to these movies with your kids, you're going to pick a Pixar movie over this any day of the week because this movie's story doesn't make sense and the characters don't matter and the comedy isn't funny and the jokes that are supposed to be in there for the grown-ups are blatantly in there for the grown-ups. They're not just like, oh, sprinkled in with kids' references or something and they make a joke for an adult. It's like a reference where a kid has no reason to laugh at this reference. It's strictly for the adults, but it doesn't work because it's not clever. The few positives I have to say about this movie are the animation was good. The movie looks great in terms of the way it's animated and the body styles of all the characters and the art style of everything. It looks really cool and there are some really compelling ideas in this movie. And also some of the jokes were funny. It did make me laugh. There were some moments in it that are really cute, but the movie overall just didn't really do it for me. I didn't care about anybody in it. The language thing got really annoying by the end, and the general storyline just didn't really make that much sense. Overall, I didn't love Minions. I think that through this review you think I hated it a lot. I did not detest Minions. I do understand that it is a children's movie, so my review will kind of relate to that, but this review is more for adults, obviously, or people that will be going to see this with children, or they want to go see it because they like the Despicable Me movies, even though they're not a kid. And to you, I just have to say, this movie is not that great. I'm going to give Minions a C-. Now, I would go lower with that grade, but I have to understand this is a kid's movie. This movie is not made for me, it's made for me to be entertained enough for a child to watch it. But the thing is you can make animation to where it's for adults and it's for kids. It doesn't have to be one or the other, it can be both. Which is why I don't really recommend seeing this movie in theaters unless you absolutely adore the Minions. If you do, maybe you'll go to this and you'll love it. I personally did not. I'm real lukewarm on the Minions. If you have a kid, they'd probably love it if they love the previous movies with the Minions. But if you have no pre-relationship with the Minions and you want to take your kid to go see a movie or you want to go see a fun animated movie, go see Inside Out. Don't go see this movie. It's a disappointment and it's just kind of annoying and not compelling and the story doesn't make sense and it's just not very good. Well, as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. My name is Eric. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Minions. Check out everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and I hope to see you guys later.